Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to welcome our Dean of Istac, Professor Dr. Abdul Aziz Barud, our Deputy Dean, Professor Dr. Nik Saiful Azizi, and also our esteemed speaker today, our Honorable Professor Dr. Osman Bakar. It's an honor for me to moderate this session with Prof. Osman Bakar. And also thank you for Istac for inviting me to be the moderator for today. And also to all our viewers and our participants today, either in this Zoom session or those who are watching in our YouTube session. Thank you for joining us today. Okay. For me to moderate this session with Prof. So today we will have our second series on the Istac-Iium series on spiritual, intellectual, and mental well-being enhancement. Okay, our second series by Professor Dr. Osman Bakar. Okay, and for those who are just joining us today, we have our first series last month. Okay, delivered by our respected Dean, Professor Dr. Abdul Aziz Barud. Okay, you can see the recorded session in our YouTube for the first session. Okay, and today will our second session. The topic for today is about body, mind, and heart, the Islamic definition of health. Okay, so before we started the lecture today, let me put some words regarding Prof. Osman Bakar. But I think I do not need to introduce him much. He already a very famous and respected and well-known scholars in the Muslim world. Okay, but still a few points that I want to highlight about him, about our beloved Professor Osman Bakar. First of all, maybe some of us already know that I think started from 2009, okay, until today, our beloved Prof had been listed, okay, among the 500 most influential Muslim in the world, okay, for 2009 and continue until today. I checked the latest edition 2020. Prof still have been listed, okay, among the few scholars from Malaysia to be listed as the most influential Muslim in the world. Okay, and up to this day, Prof had written, authored, and co-authored at least 38 books at least. And in one website, I found that they had counted articles or papers presented or written by Prof amounted up to 300 papers or articles. But I believe Prof had written more than that, more than 300 papers already throughout his contribution to the scholarly world. And last but not least, I also would like to congratulate Professor Osman for the publication of his latest book, latest revised second edition book on the environmental wisdom for planet Earth, the Islamic heritage. Okay, the first edition was published in 2007, and in this year, Alhamdulillah, the second revised edition of this book has been published. Okay. So that's all for my remarks regarding Prof. Osman Bakar, already well-known and respected scholars in the Muslim world. So today we have a talk delivered by him, maybe around 40 to 50 minutes for Prof to deliver his speech or his lecture. And after that, maybe around 20 minutes, we have open for any question and answer session. Okay, for both in this Zoom and also those who are watching in YouTube, you can just leave your comments in the chat session. Inshallah, we will try to see the chat session and maybe we can pick one or two questions from the YouTube. So I think that's all from me. And again, I would like to invite our honorable speaker, Professor Osman Bakar, to begin the session. Please welcome, Prof.
Thank you very much, Brother Dr. Hazizi, respected Professor Abdul Aziz Barud, the Dean of Istac, Dr. Nik Muhammad Saiful, the Deputy Dean, the professors, Intias and others, and the students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By His grace, we are able to be here to attend this second part of the series, the lecture series, the Istac-Iium lecture series on spiritual, intellectual, and mental well-being. The first lecture was delivered a few weeks ago by Professor Abdul Aziz, and today is the second part of the series. Now, you know, when Professor Abdul Aziz presented his lecture, he has practically touched, you know, on everything regarding the theme, yeah, every concept, every idea. So, you know, he has put his fingers into that. That makes it very difficult for me, you know, to present this lecture today, to choose the topic, you know. Well, the only thing left to me is just to perhaps to choose a topic, although he has touched it, but I'll go deeper into the subject. That's what I intend to do this afternoon. So my topic is body, mind, and heart. I know Professor Abdul Aziz mentioned those three words, body, mind, and heart, in various places, at various places in his presentation. But I will add a subtitle, Islamic definition and health. All right, I don't really have a slide. I just have one slide, where I jot down a number of points to guide me in my presentation in the next 50 minutes or so. Yes, body, mind, and heart, the Islamic definition of health. So basically, I'm interested in arriving at some kind of definition of health, which to my mind, in a sense, present the Islamic perspective. Now, the complete human person has three main components, namely body, mind, and heart. Now, this is what I call the natural triad, the natural triad. Now, there is another triad which is quite similar, that is body, soul, and heart. But the two triads are not exactly the same, because the word mind, as widely understood in modern times, does not exactly correspond to the word soul as understood in Islamic tradition. Because in modern times, what is understood as mind would correspond only to partial, or rather to one particular dimension of the soul, which is the cognitive dimension. In other words, dealing with the cognitive power. And of course, in the modern period, under the impact of the Cartesian thought, the Cartesian duality, René Descartes' philosophy, so the reality of the human person, in a sense, has been compromised, has been reduced to body and mind. So problems of human beings are regarded as problems that are reducible to body and mind. In a sense, the heart is not there. So from the three dimension, we become two dimensions. But from the Islamic point of view, of course, the triad body, soul, and heart, that would be more to it, more appealing, more to the truth, because in talking about health, especially in talking about health, all right. So to talk about health of the mind, we are really addressing the intellectual, rational, and mental. I put that intellectual hyphen rational hyphen mental health. But that would leave a very, very important dimension, and which is basically the moral health, the spiritual moral health, and that is not taken care of by the term mind. That is to be taken by another element in the triad, which is heart. So, but anyway, I still choose the topic body, mind, and heart today, because I think in terms of the thinking of many people today, the word mind is more familiar. In fact, to some people, it's more important. But how to relate, when you use the word mind, how to relate that to the Islamic perspective, I think that is important, and inshallah I will explain that. Now, as I put there, this triad, body, mind, and heart, or body, soul, and heart, is contrasted with this what we call the modern duality. Basically, it's kind of duality. Of course, the notion of duality is something which is a bit foreign. Yeah, it's a bit off the mark when we view it from the Islamic perspective, which emphasizes unity rather than duality. All right. Now let me go to the second point issue of health. So basically, of course, I'm talking about health of the complete human person. Health of the human person. Now we are talking about the ideal relationship between the triad, which we hope to define. In other words, how do we define the relationship between body, mind, and heart? Or what is the real relationship? In other words, in order for us to talk about total and integrated health, what kind of relationship should exist between body, mind, and heart? Well, if we look at the history of human thought on this particular subject, we can see that there are two main perspectives, basically, in providing the answer to that. One, of course, in a sense, is provided by revelation, divine revelation. But of course, in the case of Islam, that revelation would, of course, refer to the Holy Quran, and of course, the other one is reason. Now we know very well that in the modern period, basically the source of the answers, the source which modern minds want to access in finding answers to this issue is reason. It is through, in a sense, trial and error. It's a long history of trial and error in order to find the right answer. But in the case of Islam, it's not just simply revelation or simply reason, it is both. Yeah? In other words, the mainstream Islamic thought in responding to this answer was a combination of revelation and reason. Revelation and reason complement each other in trying to answer, and therefore, in another way of putting it is that religion and science come together to discover this ideal relationship between the triad, and of course, from the Islamic point of view, also the human person who personifies that ideal relationship is none other than the Prophet Muhammad SAW, who is regarded by Muslims at least as the most healthy individual whoever lives. So when we say that he's the perfect human being, the best of all human beings, when we translate that into issue of health, then he represents that total and integrated health in the best possible situation. All right. Now, I want to go to the point here, health. When we discuss the issue of health, and of course, in the case referring to the health of the human person, we can approach the subject either by looking at the health of each part. I mean, in other words, we can talk about health of the body that is separate from the rest of the human person, or we just talk about the health of the mind separate from the other two, or the health of the heart. That is basically the nature of human thought. The nature of human thought is such that it is possible in talking as we do in sciences, in the different sciences, we dissect a part of the reality called health of one part of the human person. Maybe we create a science, all right, a science, but that science is really meant to address the health of a particular part. So there is one approach in order to have a kind of partial view of the total health, and that's what we have in the history of human thought. For example, medical science or science of medicine deals with basically the physical health, yeah, or biophysical health, but that cannot be equated with the total health of the human person if we believe, of course, that there is such a thing as mind and such a thing as heart, which require us also to deal with their health. But the other one, which is in a sense is it's no less necessary, but is a question of health of the whole. Right. So we are a complete human person. So we have to talk about the health, our whole being, the whole person. Right? Certainly, in actual life, we cannot separate the three components. You cannot separate body, mind, and heart because they exist. They interact with one another. So we have to be concerned with the issue of the health of the whole person. But what I'm saying, from the viewpoint, for the purpose of study, for the purpose of research, for the purpose of analysis, right? There's no problem. We can talk about the health of a particular part. So this was basically what I wanted to do. All right. First of all, I just want to talk about the issue of health of the body. Now, we know that the body is a kind of biophysical system. Biophysical, not just simply physical. A living body is a biophysical system. We can add under bio there, physiological, the physiological dimension of the system. But I'm sure those who study the history of medicine, philosophy of medicine, and even sociology of medicine will agree that there are many medical systems in the history of the world. Even today, there are still various living medical systems, although the modern mechanical system is the dominant for various reasons. It is the dominant. But if you go, for example, to China, all right, they have the traditional Chinese medical system, which is based upon the different conception of the body and different conception of the biophysical system. The physiology of the system is different. And there are millions of people in China who are still, in a sense, using this particular traditional medical system. Now, and you all know the acupuncture. The acupuncture, is that old system which is still popular, not only in China now, but in other parts of the world, including in Malaysia. There are many. And if you ask them how they view the human body, it's quite different from the way our conventional medical scientists look at the body. Now, if you go to the Indian subcontinent, you still find millions of people, who we're not talking here about people just learning about it and writing about it. Talking to this is a living practical system. So in India, we have both. We have both the Ayurvedic system based upon the Hindu, Hindu philosophy, Hindu vision of the body, and then we have also the other one, which is the Unani system. The Unani system, of course, is a legacy of Ibn Sina, Sina's science of medicine, and let us not forget that Ibn Sina's canon of medicine, canon 50, was a textbook of science and medicine in both Islamic civilization and in the West for 800 years. It was a textbook in Europe until the 18th century, if not until the early 19th century. So this is important, I think, to appreciate when we talk about the physical body. There is a plurality of conceptions of what the body is, and of course, how we respond to the diseases of the body, that will very much influenced by our vision of the body. So issues of bodily health, bodily diseases, it is based upon that. This is what I call in some of my writing. This is a kind of medical pluralism. So we have the idea of religious pluralism, but here we have medical pluralism. But of course, there are certain forces in the world who want to destroy all the traditional medical system in order to claim a kind of monopoly, we know that is going on right now. It's going on now. All right. So that's what I want to know. In other words, now we are talking about bodily health. Yeah. The question of what the body means and what body means. So if you want to talk about the issue of health of the whole human person, then of course we have to address first and foremost the question of this body health. Now the mind, the second part, the mind. All right. Now what is the mind? Well, I mean, this is an English word. This is an English word. It's not Arabic. It's not Malay. Does not belong really to the Muslim languages, traditional Muslim languages. But in Islam, we know basically the fundamental thing about what is understood as mind is what we call aql, al-aqlu, which may be translated as both intelligence as well as intellect hyphen reason, right? So in other words, basically the realm of intelligence al-aqlu, which is of the same substance as the angels. In other words, the intellect, reason is of the same substance as the angel, which is light, spiritual light. So the mind is basically concerned about the world of light. And it's for no reason that we talk about enlightenment. What do you mean about enlightenment? Tanwir, enlightenment. It's about life. It's about life, in a sense, occupying the space called mind to enlighten us. All right. That light is to help enlighten us, which means, and light is also means knowledge. Yeah. All right. So there is another realm of what we call the human person, the complete human person. It's a very important thing to address this particular space. It is the realm of intelligence and consciousness, including imaginative faculty, or what the Muslim cognitive psychologists call internal senses, al-hawas al-batina, and these internal senses. There are 5 internal senses, according to Al-Farabi, for example, just as there are 5 external senses. Now, the health of the mind is very important, but it is also a very complicated thing. You know, it is not to manage. It's not, the human mind is not easy to manage, but but we have to address the issue of intellectual hyphen rational hyphen mental health. Now, when talking about the intellectual, rational, and mental do not refer to one and the same thing. There are three different things, or the three realities with different functions, with different qualities. But the word mental health sometimes has been used in a rather loose way, no? But I mean, if you want to be disciplined, you want to follow the science of intelligence, the science of intelligence, then the word mental is referring to something which is different from intellectual and rational, right? Then and therefore, talking about the health also, we have to deal all the three. Now, I think this is important when you talk about intelligence and consciousness. That first of all, of course, I mean the 5 external senses, which belongs to the biophysical system, in a sense, those 5 physical senses are dealt with in our discussion in the bodily health, in biophysical medicine, right? But then those 5 external senses are somehow related in a very, very interesting way. They are related to the mind, to what we call the mind, or to akal, to the intellectual, rational, and mental. So there's a whole subject there that we need to know. Even if you want to limit our study just to the issue of health. Now, for example, say what is the imaginative faculty? What are 5 internal senses? I just give the example of because I've studied the imaginative faculty or internal senses according to Al-Farabi. First of all, we have the 5 external senses, then the images, the forms, if you want to use the philosophical term, receive from the 5 senses, 5 external senses will be received by the common sense, and then, in other words, now forms received by each of the 5 external senses now received together by the common sense, and they exist. They are basically forms. Then those forms are retained by what Al-Farabi called al-quwa al-musawwira. In other words, the faculty of representation which retains the forms of the objects perceived by the physical senses. Then we have the faculty of waham, and incidentally, the faculty of waham was discovered for the first time by Al-Farabi. When it was translated into Latin, it was called the estimatio, meaning the faculty of estimation. In other words, when it comes, the faculty of waham is able to abstract the forms, the non-physical forms related to qualities, something like something that you love, something that you hate, or something like that. That is also retained. It's not just the physical form. Then you have the memory, all right? The faculty of memory, and hafizah. Now, those forms, whether those received by the common sense or retained by the faculty of, received by the faculty of waham, now retained in memory. And then the other one is the very, very interesting now in this imaginative faculty, another faculty, the composition, the faculty of the composition, in the sense that somehow this thing in well, I mean, the help of all this imaginative faculty is very important to the health of the mind, right? If we are looking for if you are really interested in the issue of the health of the mind, then we have to pay attention to that imaginary world, and alam al-khayal, the imaginative faculty. In other words, this imagination of human imagination can have an effect on the health of the human person, because the imagination can be wild imagination, can be evil imagination, it can be good imagination. There we now encounter the problems of question of what is good, what is bad for us as a human person. Then, of course, the most important is to go to the intellect, the reason. Now, the word aql, as understood by the Muslim, al-aql, have two dimensions. One dimension is basically intellect, in Latin, intellectus. But in Islamic thought, it was a particular term, al-aqlu al-kulli, maybe understood as a kind of universal intellect or the whole intellect, and the other one is al-aqlu al-juz'i, which is the partial intellect. In other words, there are two different things. So what is the intellect? Whether it was in Arabic or it was in Latin, why was it understood as the universal, the universal intellect? Because the function, the nature and function of that instrument, it is able to perceive truth. It is able to perceive truth in a direct way without any intermediary, just like our physical senses. When our eyes see an object, we know straight away. Say we see the color of the object is green. We don't go to any intermediary, as we do in logic, for example. So, as far as reason, the other one is reason. Why is constructed with intellect is reason, ratio, ratio, from which we come to the word rational. Now, this part of the intellect of akal arrives at knowledge not not through direct perception, but through reasoning. Just let's say A is B, B is C, and therefore A to C. In order to go from A to C, it's not direct, all right? Well, you have to go through kind of reasoning. So I think that was important distinction made in the Islamic epistemology, in Islamic theory of the intellect reason, all right? But even in other words, now of course you're bringing the mental thing, the mental dimension. Now, the intelligence is not the same as mental. Yes, mental intelligence, you talk about, basically, one want to talk about now how the brain function during reasoning, during say rational reasoning, argument, and so on. Now, it is very important when we deal with the question of the sources of health that come from below. In other words, what we eat in terms of our dietary habit, in terms of our physical exercises that affect, that have consequences on our mental health. In other words, the source of mental health that comes from below, from the physical objects that we observe, from the kind of food we eat that affects the health of the brain. But Islamic cognitive science also tells us that the source of mental health can also come from above. From above. This way, in other words, mental processes can be generated by data that is coming, say, from revelation, from the Quran, from the spiritual world. So we have that. Now, of course, that cannot be accepted by evolutionary theory, by evolutionary biology. They cannot accept that, because for them, the sources or the impact on the brain only comes from below. Yeah, it is, so it's quite different. But anyway, whether we believe or not, whether we accept the evolutionary biology perspective or say the Islamic cognitive science perspective, the issue of the health of the mind as kind of beyond intelligence is very important. And nowadays, since we are going to more and more into the kind of what I call artificial intelligence and robotic intelligence, it is very, very important to understand the range of meanings of intelligence as understood by Islam. In other words, so that we do not really be swayed kind of, by thinking that we can create machines that are going to be more intelligent than human beings. That would be absurd, because precisely because artificial intelligence is an imitation of natural intelligence. All right. So there's no problem for us, because in other words, it is true that the part of the human body, including the mind, has a mechanical dimension that is kind of automatic. It is an auto running. It is something that is repetitive. That's what machines do, and the human intelligence does have that dimension, and that dimension can be translated, can be copied, by technology. So, all right, I think that just as far as the mind, but it is a very vast subject that we can talk about how to attain this health of the mind. Now, next one is the heart, basically. Now, of course, what is the heart basically here? Of course, I don't mean here, I'm not talking here about the physical heart, because that belongs to the health of the body. You're talking about the spiritual and moral health. Now, the human person has a center. The human person comprising body, mind, and heart has a center. And that center, of course, is the heart. The heart is the center of human being, the center of consciousness, the true, in fact, the seat of true consciousness. In Islam, we refer to God consciousness. So the seed of God consciousness, the taqwa, that is at the heart. Now, the heart is that realm, right? Is that realm of human intentions and habits of the heart. Now, you know very well in Islam, everything is look. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the intention of the heart. So of course the intention, some we pursue in the form of good habits, others in bad habit, but the source is the intention, and it is important to purify our intentions. The purification of intention is a very important in when it talks about spiritual health. Our intentions must be healthy. Now, those intentions manifest themselves, all right, depending on how we pursue it, to what extent we pursue that, because that will influence or even create, in a sense, what we call the habits of the heart. It could be good habits, could be bad habits, but the purity, of course, when we talk about the health of the heart, we are talking about, when we talk about spiritual moral health, that means we are talking about the good habits. Now, it is this part, I think Professor Abdul Aziz last time dealt quite a bit on this. Refer to the 3 stages of the soul, or 3 stages of selfhood, referring to an-nafs al-ammara bisu', the soul or the self that cites the evil, and then you have the an-nafs al-lawamma, which is the kind of what is understood in English as conscience, in that state of the soul, which is able to, in a sense, to distinguish between what is right and wrong, between what is halal and haram. You have that consciousness. In other words, that sensitivity to that kind of valuation, rather than anything is possible. In other words, the distinctive, or rather the ability to discern, the capacity to discern between what is good and is bad is strong. And of course, the highest level of the selfhood in its most true form, that is the an-nafs al-mutma'innah, the soul at peace. Yes, these are all related to question of spiritual and moral health. As a student of mathematics, I would like to look at this issue from the kind of a system of concentric circles. So the heart, in a sense, that God consciousness is represented by the center of a circle. So that center of a circle, in reality, we have a system of concentric circle, all right? A system of concentric circle. Now, the center refers to God. In the case of human being, the God consciousness. Now, in the sense that that an-nafs al-ammara bisu', that soul is the kind of those who have that level of consciousness. They are situated on the circumference of a circle whose radius is far away, is moving away from the center. So in other words, to be at the center is to be God conscious. Less God consciousness means we are moving away from the center to the periphery, and usually the center to the periphery. Now, for the God conscious, the people of Taqwa, the people who are close to God, which means that they're close to the center, and therefore the smaller radius and the smaller and the smaller circle. This to me is very quite interesting that we can use mathematical symbolism in order to understand the circles of consciousness. Yeah? The circles of consciousness. Anyway, we should not be on the circumference of the center or the circumference of the circle, which I call Da'iratul Shar. Yeah, in other words, the circle of evil. The circle of evil, or what's called basically is the vicious circle. All right, next I want to go to point number 7. So the issue of complete health now. Now we have touched about, we have briefly the bodily health, the health of the body, the health of the mind, the health of the heart, separately, yeah, individually. But as I said, in reality, all the three exist and interact. So how can we talk now about this, the health of a total system? This is the issue that we have. So theoretically, I put forward what I think Islam proposes is that now what we mean by the complete health, the health of the complete human person, is the state of balance, equilibrium, and harmony, tawazun, between all the constituent parts of the human person, body, mind, and heart. That's for the whole human person. But the same definition of health can be given to each of the parts. In other words, just simply just to the body. You can talk about health of the body. It also is about state of balance and equilibrium and harmony between all the constituent parts of the human body. Or we can talk about the health of the mind, the whole question of state and balance, say between the intellectual, rational, and mental. Now, the heart. You can just talk about the health of the heart. It's a question of balance. Now, I arrived at this kind of definition, which is an Islamic definition. This tawazun, it's related to the word mizan, balance. But you talk about, because those who know Arabic, of course, realize that the word tawazun, that implies a kind of interdependent, the interdependence of mutual dependence. I think that's why the significance of the word tawazun, to talk about balance, equilibrium, and harmony. Now, I arrived at this idea based on Ibn Sina's definition of health. In the book Canon of Medicine, Canon 15, Ibn Sina provides a very, very important definition of health. I was once reminded by my philosophy teachers that actually modern medicine does not have a definition of health, right? Does not have. But Ibn Sina provided that definition, which, as I said, was used even in the West for nearly 8 centuries. It was a very good working definition. All right? We talk about the balance, equilibrium, and harmony between all the different parts of the human person, in this, or the human body, if you want to talk about the medicine, science of medicine. Now, what is called illness, disease, is the disruption in that state of balance. So when that state of balance is affected, is disrupted, then and there are many factors for that. Then we have illness. So the role of medicine is to restore that balance. The role of medicine is to restore that balance. All right. Yes, it may be, we are not talking now just about physical medicines or biomedicine. We are talking now about the whole human person. So it is more difficult in terms of how to attain this tawazun in our individual or personal life. Not just physical body. For the physical body, we can go to our personal doctor to see doctors, and in order to restore that tawazun. So I think this is my last part, basically, of my presentation today to answer this question. In my view, Islam's answer to that question, how to attain tawazun in our individual personal life, is a Sharia, divine law. One of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide Sharia, a Sharia, is so that we can pursue our bodily health, intellectual, rational, mental health, and spiritual, moral health in a total and integrated manner. Because and that goes well with the purpose of the Sharia. Yeah? If you look at the Maqasid al-Sharia, then in other words, basically is to ensure that this reality, this idea of total and integrated health can be pursued. All right. So if Sharia provides the answer, where is it? Where is that situated? Where is that answer to be found? Well, the answer, I think, is prayer, canonical prayer, and fasting. Salah and fasting. These this question, to me, exercise is the key to health. All form of health. For physical health, physical exercises. For mental, for the health of the mind, is through all those exercises related to the mind. And of course, for spiritual health, is about spiritual exercises. So the principle is the same. Exercise is the key to health. Different levels of health require different kinds of exercises. So while we all know very well, everybody does exercise, physical exercise, in order to have kind of physical health. But many people don't talk about mental exercises, intellectual exercises, or spiritual exercises. But of course, this is another vast subject for me to talk about. But somehow, if you reflect on Salah, I know people say, "Oh, I'm going to talk about the Salah as a kind of exercise." I may not use that word, but I can talk about now in terms of the objectives, in terms of the consequences, what prayer provides in terms of in pursuit of the total and integrated health. I think prayer, Salah, is there and is quite clear. You had a total and integrated activity, which involves the bodily movement, which involves the mind, the kind of concentration, the kind of attitude, the kind of what kind of consciousness should exist at the time we perform all the prayer. And then the best words we utter, they are words from the Quran, right? In other words, the best kind of words that we can think of. Now, and of course, the presence of the heart in the form of prayer. So that is Islam's answer to the question of how to have a total and integrated approach to health. Yeah. So and that's we perform that 5 times a day. That kind of prayer. So even the timing of the prayer is not based on convention, It is based on the movement, the daily movement of the sun, the morning, the noon, late afternoon, the dusk, the ancient prayer, the toilet. I mean, all that is not our choice. In fact, God provided the time to perform that because there is a need to be in unison with nature. Now, I can go and talk about the different symbolism of the bodily movement during in prayer. But the point is this: I want to point out that everything, all the essential, the essential thing about the health of the bodily movement, about the state of our mind, and about the state of our heart during prayer, all in an integrated manner. So that for that reason, the prayer is said to be able to attain several objectives all at once. Spiritual objective, basically a physical objective, the social objective, all in one embodied in prayer. Now, on a lesser scale, of course, is the fasting. Again, the medical value of fasting, the social value of fasting. This is Islam's genius. This Islam's genius of how different good objectives are integrated in one single activity. That is the essence of Islam. I'm sorry, I'm talking already 4 o'clock. I think basically that is what I would like to say. Although each of the things that I have touched just now could be discussed in the deeper way. So to conclude, I think the Islamic definition of health, what we mean by the health of the complete human person, is that state of balance, equilibrium, and harmony, tawazun, between all the constituent parts of the human person. That is body, mind, and heart. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof, for a very interesting and enlightening lecture from you regarding these 3 aspects. I think I agree with you that the 2 first aspects we have discussed many times. Okay, many our scholars and also the academic have discussed many times about this. The first 2 about the body and mind, but rarely people talk about the heart, and even more rare for people to talk these 3 elements together, to talk about the interconnected between these 3 elements in human body, in human soul. Okay. So in order to have a good human, these 3 elements need to be in balance, like what you have said. Okay. And even our ulama and our past scholars had talked very much about the purification of hearts, the tazkiyatun nafs, about this. So I think we will allow for any comments or for any question, from both participants in Zoom and also in YouTube. Okay, I think maybe we can take one first from this Zoom session. Okay, so if anyone have any question or any comments, you can put in your chat or or you can just unmute yourself. And for those in YouTube, please, if you have any question or any comment, you can just type in the chat box, and maybe I will write. I will choose one or two questions to be answered by Prof. Okay, so please welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, Doctor.
This is Abdul Hamid from Fiqh Department. Thank you, Prof. MashaAllah, very fruitful presentation and very inspiring. I had a small question and a small comment. The first one is about the connection between aql and ruh. Because most of us, sometimes we tend to forget the significance of aql, and we focus only on the spirit or spirituality. Though in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when talking about fasjud waqtarib, the more you are near to him, the better position we'll have in terms of knowledge, because knowledge elevates our status. And subhanallah, Surah Al-Alaq started with Iqra bismi rabbik, and then fasjud waqtarib. So when you are performing ibadah, especially salah, you are coming so closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the time you are so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is where you put your forehead on the ground. You prostrate to Allah. So you are so near to him. So the gates of paradise are widely open to you at this particular time, because you are having sujood, the connection and communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So from this ayah, we relate the significance of aql and ruh at the same time. The second comment, and that could be also in a sense, that is a question to Prof. In Islam, we should not always focus on one aspect of our existence, that is ruh or aql or jasad. But why in the academia or in the universities or colleges, we always focus on study, aql, research, while we tend to forget the importance of spirituality. So how do we attain this state of having both at the same time, aql and ruh? Because without aql, we'll be misguided. Without ruh, we'll be misguided. So I want Prof to comment on this, the connection between aql and ruh while you are having knowledge, while you are disseminating knowledge, or while you are seeking knowledge. Jazakumullah khairan.
Yes, Brother Abdul Hamid, I think I did already explain, although not in detail just now, but earlier on, when I presented my talk, in terms of approach, we can have different, that depends on the context, right? What questions we want to answer, what problem we want to solve. Of course, in universities, a lot of cases, a lot of issues are intellectual in nature. So therefore, we have to emphasize on that. But of course, when we want to approach issues of an intellectual nature, while we do emphasize that the importance of aql, the importance of the intellect, reason, we should be careful when we make generalizations and conclusions about research, not to forget that there is something else besides intellect. All right. So in other words, this is to advise Muslims. When we carry out studies, when we make conclusions, make sure that those conclusions do not contradict what we know, the truths that we know about the heart, about the spiritual heart, about the occult. Yes, but in academia, of course, I think we have to understand that. We have to see the context. So if that, of course, when we deal with question of psychology, not the cognitive aspect, but more on the appetitive aspect, more the question of the the virtues and the vices, then we have to talk about the heart, about spiritual heart. Yeah. So I think, as I see it, I mean that is all right, as long as we are always aware of that. Simply body and mind. It's not simply intellect, but most important, of course, the most important of course is the heart. The heart is the center of everything. All right. Now there is a traditional saying that the intellect is the eye of the heart. So the intellect is connected to the heart by being eye of the heart. So in other words, that thing is very important. All right. In one sense, akal is very important because it is the eye of the heart. All right. And on the hand, the heart is very important to our consciousness, to the study of our consciousness, because akal is just simply an instrument to serve the heart, to serve the objectives of the heart. But important thing again, the question of definition of health is the balance. There should be balance, equilibrium, and harmony between the three: between body, mind, and heart. I think that is what basically the message that I want to emphasize in my presentation. That balance. How to attain that balance? We have to look for the answer in the Sharia. In other words, by leading our life according to the injunctions of the Sharia, that is the key to attaining that balance. All right? If only, for example, we reflect, what is the wisdom of our Salah? Don't just look upon Salah as a kind of as a kind of burden, as a kind of thing that we do just based on obedience to Allah. Obedience, yes, but obedience is not the only dimension why we do things. Right? I think that is important. We also do things because things are true. That is the, in other prayer is the definition of the human being itself. Yeah. So if you ask who is human person is a praying animal. Instead of talking about is rational animal, no, human being is a praying animal. I think that, of course, Islam says all the other makhluk, all the other creatures, they also do their kind of prayer, but the total and integrated prayer that I talk about, that is unique to human being. Okay, thank you. Is that we have lost a message? Dr. Hadizi?
Okay, Prof, maybe and while they are coming, just to add in only 1 minute. Prof, in Al-Quran, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. So, Al-Aql al-Salim is not mentioned in Al-Quran. I mean, directly. But here, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. And also we say, Al-Aql al-Salim fil Jism al-Salim. So the body should be Salim, Al-Aql should be Salim. But the emphasis in Al-Quran is Al-Qalb al-Salim, because when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this sound heart, and pure heart. So at the result, inshallah, the mind will be also Salim, the body also will be Salim.
Yes. Yes, right. Yes, the word is Salim, yes. And certainly among the Muslim scholars talk about even just talking about the health of the intellect, of the intellect, they use the word Salim. So in other words, the idea of health applies to all, which people are doing, but what people are not to be less doing it is how to look at health from a total integrated perspective in which the health of the intellect, of the mind, and the body are integrated. And that is the perspective of Islam. I wanted to academic level, that is just we carry on specialize in going into specialization, specialize more and more. We forget the whole picture. I think we should not lose that whole picture. Okay, thank you very much for pointing that out. That the verse in the Quran. Anything else? Any from the audience?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for your explanation and your good answer. Very inspiring lecture today. Now we are, Brother Dr. Hazizi have problem with his laptop, and any question from our friends, our viewers? If no, we are now going to end our talk today. Thank you very much, Prof.
Yes, thank you.
Inshallah, we will meet all. Inshallah, in the next session will be held on next on February, inshallah. Okay, by that, we end here. Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. We end by reciting Surah Al-Asr and Tasbih Kafarah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much, Prof. Jazakumullahu khairan. Jumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.